The normal practice is that if I observe that someone that who do not understand the local language, then I switch over to English. I guess my English is comprehensible, so I was going to deliver my talk in English. So my talk is actually, I was actually watching the other one. The other one was good, and then I was actually wanting to say something in a similar fashion. I don't work in the sort of the creative area or the arts area. I am a computer scientist. My research is on artificial intelligence back in about 40 years back. And then now my area is on natural language processing, particularly in Chinese. So, but then over the years now, I work with the government, and I'm now a legislator. So I care more on the legislative side of it, on policies. So when I wanted to say something, they're still looking for my slides, but I don't need my slides actually. If they have it, I'll show it. But I am actually quite enjoyed the talk that we had just now. I wanted to say something very close, but from a different angle. And I do agree that because there's a lot of people are worrying about what they always say in Chinese is 机器代人, So I agree with what the gentleman, what Wayne said, that it will not happen. The machine will never replace human. There is the humane touch of it, the creativity touch of it is irreplaceable. So, but then again, what is actually hindering that is the people, it's human themselves. So what happened is we really want to push it. We really want to push AI. But as explained by Wayne, the whole workflow, the whole value chain has changed. But whenever you want to change that value chain, you will have a lot of repulsive forces against you. A very good example is if you are reading the news recently, you see that Netflix is actually cooperating or buying something from Disney. I think Disney? Warner Brothers. And then the other one is about Disney is actually investing on OpenAI. Well, from my point of view, or even from my point of view, I think it's a very exciting thing because from a technology side, you can actually really actually make use of the technology and see how that it can be applied to the art or the creative world. So, but the problem now, if you see that a lot of people just come up and started to complain, mostly the industry, because for even like for example, and if I remember right, that one of the things they said that in the Disney and OpenAI deal was that all these characters they involve IPs, and these IPs can be used or shared by OpenAI, and people can use these characters to create stories. Everything is good. Everything is good. I think as just said that in order to be able to do that, you expedite the whole process of production. It would really be like that. But then the downside of it is that what about the people who's actually working in the traditional industry? They would run out of jobs. And then obviously there are a lot of big companies actually doing that. So these companies obviously would will be very reluctant to do that. There'll be a repulsive reaction against it. So as a legislator, we care about these sort of problems. We have to care about this sort of problem. Once you push this out, then what would happen to the whole society? And then that actually traces back a little bit as well. It really depends on how your community or your society is built up. In different places, you have different culture. So therefore, sometimes when you push something out, you really, for example, if you happen to be in a very, very commercial world, then the government will have to think more, to think about more of the existing industry, because these people are kind of driving the economy or even driving the community. So for that reason, the government will have to kind of, I won't say the word honor, but I have to say something to kind of please them. And otherwise, there will be a lot of kind of, immediate impact or disturbance occur at that moment. Then as a policymaker, as a government, you really have to think about how do you sort of smoothen the gap or actually narrow the gap and make sure, on the one hand, you want to make this happen, but on the other hand, you try not to disturb so much about what is happening in the society. I don't know how many of you can feel that, because some of you are students and you may not feel that. But if you have worked in the industry for some time, even a university professor won't feel that, because we don't care about we don't care too much about the commercial side of it. But it is the truth. It is the case. So whenever we want to work out something like that, we'll have to we have to put double efforts. Okay. The kind of that brings us back about what I said earlier about when this new technology comes in, or any new technology, but at this moment in time, we're talking about artificial intelligence. When any new technology comes in, then a lot of people talk only the bright side of the thing. But then you also have to think about, I won't say the downside of it, the side effect of it. You have to think really the side effect of it. If you want to put things in real practice in the community, then you cannot refuse that. You have to, as a legislator, as a government, you really have to think about that. So I just want to make sure that everybody knows that. And I want to say that because of new technology, because of new technology like AI that comes in, and I said that it will have some side effect. And this side effect comes in, for example, the value chain. It comes in with the workflow, because the value chain has changed. It was mentioned from Wayne that perhaps some of the drudgery part of the work or the repetitive part of the work can be replaced by the machines or by the tools. In fact, when machine comes in earlier days, in the first industrial revolution, the second industrial revolution, that's what happened. The machines actually replaced some of the drudgery or the repetitive work. And now AI comes in, it actually goes up a little bit as well. They can do something more on the sort of experimental side of it. Don't underestimate that. Okay, you may have an idea as a creator, then you want to see how it works. If you can actually see it or feel it before, then you are more confident when you actually create the thing or produce the thing. In the old days, or in previously, what you can do is that you will have to do it yourself, and then your lead time will be much longer, and because your lead time is much longer, therefore the less you can try. But then now again, because of some of the experimental part that you have, you can get the tools can help you. For that reason, then the lead time is shorter, and therefore the more you can experiment, and then the more once after the experiment, actually at the end part of it, at the downstream part of it, the more practical creativity you can work on. Practical creativity, in my definition, is that you can have a lot of wild ideas. Somehow you have to pick on one or two. But seeing is believing. If you can see it at some point, then you can make a more kind of a scientific judgment. And in the current moment, if you were not working on the AI tool, therefore you can only experiment a few or one or two. But with the tools, then you'll be able to cut down your lead time, and therefore you can try more. And therefore you can see that there is a shift, there's a big shift in your workflow. I just mentioned about, in another way of expressing what I've just said. I just said that when we have these artificial intelligence things, then you have to think not just about the creative side of it, but you have to, when you put this thing in practice, there are a lot of changes that you have to face. These are what we call the challenges. One of the things, especially in the creative industry, that you have to think about is on the innovation part. We talk about creativity, then we also have to think about IP protection. Again, it is very cultural dependent. A different part of the world, the way that we honor IP is different. The weighting is different. We all know that we have to honor IP, but then in some places they are less serious about it. Okay, less serious about it. Again, why are they less serious about it? Again, if this place, this community is more on the commercial side, somehow the government, the local government, will have to kind of lean on the side of the industry. And in the industry, whenever you said that I want to use AI, they want to use it immediately. No, stop for a while. The way that you use AI is that you have to use a large corpus or some large samples for training. Where do you get your samples? I mean, you can't just pinch it from the internet. They are all protected. So as far as some of the industrialists is concerned, the faster they can get access to this data, the better. And then they will be a bit reluctant about this IP protection thing. But then on the other side, from the creator side, then obviously I spent hours, months, years in producing my thing, in producing my product. And now you said that, oh, you just nick it and then you use it. That's so unfair for me. Okay? But from the government side, then you will think, right? On the one side, I have to protect the creative industry, but on the other side, I also have to create the commercial part of the industry as well. So I don't know how many of you have feel that before. I mean, obviously, I'm a legislator. I experienced that. There are two sides of the government, and how do we balance that as a challenge? It's a challenge. Then obviously, one may say that, well, obviously, one would protect the IP because it's about creativity. So we should encourage the creator. Well, it may be true, but I want to use another angle to describe this problem. What about face recognition? Whenever we mention about face recognition, then a lot of people will think that, well, privacy is a big issue. I mean, why are you intruding my privacy? But then, if you look at this particular problem, if you go in, now we are in Shenzhen, you can ask people, the residents in Shenzhen, 20 years back, or even 10 years back, and compare with today, they feel very, very safe. Anytime, anywhere in Shenzhen, I feel safe as well. Why? Because of the CCTVs all around. But then, on the other end of the world, they said that we cannot put that many CCTVs around. Intrusion of privacy. That's what they said. Okay, so whether you kind of populate the city with the CCTV is right, or you deprive them from the society is right, I don't know. You tell me, it's about the culture. But I do know that prevention is better than cure is always right. Okay? If you don't want to be sick, you better do it right at the roots, rather than once you get sick and then you go and see the doctor. So if you think about it that way, then there's some sense about it, okay? But how do you strike the balance? I don't have an answer. Really, it's very cultural dependency where you are. Okay, and the second thing is about AI-human interoperability. And I talked about that before, just with the example by Wayne, is the restructuring of the workflow. Okay, the workflow will change. The workflow will change. I'll give you another example of workflow changes. I'm an educator. From an education point of view, I don't know about anywhere in the world, but in Hong Kong, at one point when ChatGPT just came out, we were jumping up and down about it, don't know what to do with it. And then one of the schools actually published an announcement and said that they forbid the students from using ChatGPT at that time. So, but they changed their mind now. Okay, but anyway, so I did actually think a little bit about that problem. When you really think about it, okay, if I'm a teacher, and then if I give an assignment to my students, and then the students go back and did his homework and came back with an essay, and then the teacher asked the students, "You did well. How did you do it?" And then the student replied, said that, "My parents did it for me." So if you were the teacher, what would be your reaction? Obviously, your reaction would be, well, you should not have done that. You're asking someone to do your work with you, do the work for you. Why did the teacher say that? Why? The reason because as a teacher, I really want to teach my students to really learn from it. But what is the learning process? The learning process is not P2P or end-to-end. It's not I give you an assignment and you come up with the homework. We come up with the essay. Rather, it's the learning process. If I were to give you an assignment, what would you do? You would go to the library, for example, to pick up some books. And you will read the books and extract the relevant parts. And finally, you digest these parts and use your creative writing to come up with that essay. There are 3 stages or 3 steps in this process. And that's what the teachers want you to learn. No matter the subject that you will face later, but this process is inevitable. This process is inevitable. Go to the library, read the books, creative writing. These are 3 processes. And now you tell me that the machine has done everything for you. Would you accept it as a teacher? And the answer is definitely no, at least a no from me. So what is the real problem behind this whole thing? The problem behind this whole thing is I have a creative tool, but I do not have a creative process. The process is still traditional. So therefore, whenever new tools come in like AI, in this education example, we should think deeply about the education process, the pedagogy. If we are using a new tool without a new pedagogy, without new ways of teaching or learning, then there's something wrong. Imagine that you're still using the tool and then the way of teaching or the way of assessing students is still based on examination. Then I don't think it would work. Just paper examination, then I don't think it would work. So how does it work? I don't know, but I give you my example. My example is, I've been doing research for a long time, for 40 years. So when I do my research, I like writing articles for journals, for conferences, international conferences. And when we do that, what we have to do with the student is that we discuss, and then the students will write the article, and then submit the articles to the conferences, and each conference will have volunteer reviewers. They will review the paper for you. Whether your paper is accepted or not, they will come back with some comments. Okay? So from my point of view, as a teacher, my point of view is that this process of open review or review by third-party people or by third parties is a plus, because they will give you new ideas. And then, but the fact that when they come back with feedbacks, the teachers will have to discuss with the students again. Then you will learn from the reviews. You learn from the reviews. Then the next thing is, why human?
Why not machines? Why not AI tools? So that's what I've been doing now. So what I do is that I discuss with my students, and then they have ideas, then I will ask them to use whatever, multiples, ChatGPT, DeepSeek, Qianwen. They will use these different type of generative AI tools, and then come back with reviews, and then we discuss. That's what I do now. So this is a change of the workflow, the change of teaching methods. But then you have to change the workflow. Currently, in our part of the world, including in Shenzhen, including in Hong Kong, the way that we teach is one to many. We have big classes. But if you have big classes, this kind of, person-to-person sort of reviews type of pedagogy or teaching method, it may not work because it's too time-consuming. So therefore, I came back to this one, and the second point that you may have to rethink about the workflow. So that I guess it would, I don't know about the creative industry well enough, but I guess from Wayne's explanation, you can see that the workflow distribution is changed. And once the distribution is changed, then I guess that you will have to think about when this distribution is changed, then the next point is about human resource allocation. If you are a manager, then you will have to think about that. So previously, you will have to put more resources in the back end part to get some people to do some work for you, to lay down the grounds for you before you put in people at the creative part. Then perhaps now, because of the upstream bricklaying part of it can be easily done, then can be easier done. What easily done? Easier done. Then probably you can spend more resources in the downstream part where you have more creativity. Okay. So the next challenges I have is on AI engineering. AI engineering is not particularly for engineer, also applicable to creative industry. As a creator, you may only care about the one piece itself, but as an industry, we care about the multiple part of it. You have one idea, when you really want to create a product, then we actually mass produce it. That's the engineering part. But when we do the mass engineering part, we care about traceability. When you try to produce the thing, then you have to care about it may go wrong in some part. Then you have to trace it. Where has it gone wrong? So in engineering, we have kind of procedures, standards in running a process. So I think, and currently, even in the engineering world, when we are using AI, we do not have that yet. A good example is a point that we discuss a lot in the AI industry is what we call explainability, which is very, very, very similar to traceability. Explainability means that because when we are using artificial intelligence, for some of you may know that we need a large sample, a large corpus, or large samples to train my AI system. But then when I train that, the system is ready, but it's an end-to-end system. You give an input, a prompt, and they will come out with an answer, a response. But if the response, you want to ask more about how do you get this response, then the system cannot explain. Okay. So imagine that if your application is a medical application, if you have a doctor who are actually diagnosing you, and then they said that you have cancers. You have cancer, and then and then you ask the doctor, why do you think I have cancer? And the doctor said that I cannot explain to you. How would you feel? So currently, unfortunately, because of the P2P or the end-to-end way of production or AI, for that reason that many of the cases are unexplainable, which is no good. Then I use another good, more simpler example to explain this case. So I guess that in your primary school, you also learn about this, the multiplication table. Everybody must have learned it. So if I asked any one of you in here, what do you mean by 8 multiplies by 8? And obviously the answer, you can come up with 64. Okay, very simple. Why? Because it's a table lookup. You already memorized the table. What is the first principle about this multiplication thing? 8 multiplies by 8 means I add 8 times. So how many of you do still remember that? Nobody cares anymore. But that is exactly what happened when we are doing AI training. You have everything hard-coded, hard-coded, and therefore you know the answer without knowing the reason. And without knowing the reason, sometimes, in many cases, in engineering in particular, can be very, very dangerous. Okay, so therefore, as myself is working on this sort of project. I'm an engineer, so I work in the engineering process of the thing. And obviously, finally, is the trustability of AI, and we talk a lot about this, about ethics, about bias, about discrimination, hate speech, and fake news, and security. It's a sensitive issue, so I better not say too much about that. But anyway, I think the discrimination part, the security part. We all know about the Russian and the Russian and Ukraine sort of war. So we don't know. We really don't know. There are a lot of fake news around, because these days when we have conflicts, when we have a war, it's more than physical war. It's media war, publication war, and then the publication part of it is the publication part sending out fake news, for example, is to affect the confidence of the other side. So a lot of people read news, and then some of these fake news can actually, disrupt or can actually affect, influence the local beliefs of the place. So, and that actually somehow can actually affect the war. Okay. So I don't want to go too much about that. But anyway, so the trust part is very important. The trust part is very important. Okay, so this is the final thing I have. In fact, I talk about AI in humanities as well. So I want to use only the second part that I want to say. This is by Confucius, the second line. 知之为知之，不知为不知，是知也. What does that mean? Simply, you have to learn how to say no. You have to learn how to say no. I talk about AI and human will interoperate in the future. So both should learn from each other in order to make it work. So one of the problems with machine now, sometimes the machine doesn't know how to say no. And you heard about the idea of hallucination. The problem or the reason of hallucination is because the machines do not know how to say no. They insist on everything, even with insufficient information. So because they have this sort of generative because they have this generative capability, and in many cases, they will try to make up something, although the answer is wrong. Therefore, we said a lot that we have to do fact-checking. Okay, don't just take the results as granted and do some fact-checking before you present the results. The whole reason because the machine itself does not know how to say no. So the machine should somehow have to learn to say no. This is from the machine side. But the same also apply to human. The human also have to learn how to say no. Okay? How do we explain that? Because human beings sometimes can be very lazy. There is a book written about 20 years ago, a gentleman called Nicholas Carr, and this book is called Shallows. At that moment in time, the internet has just come out, and then this book, The Shallows, the book, Nick Carr said at the end, it says that it seems that we are outsourcing our memory to the machine. So we do not want that to happen. Outsourcing the memory means that whenever I ask you a question, you said, hold on, let me ask Google first. Do you want to do that? Well, why are human is superior? Because of our creativity, because of our empathy, because of our passion, because of our thinking. So if you rely too much on this AI thing or the internet at that time, you outsource your memory to these machines. Who are you? Or what are you? Okay? So, therefore, you have to learn how to say no to the machine. Unfortunately, in many, many cases, people rely too much on machines. And therefore, when ChatGPT or DeepSeek give you an answer, you just take them as granted, which should not be the case. Think before you present. And for this reason, why education is so important. And I'm happy, I'm glad that I'm in the education industry for 34 years. Thank you.